Startup. You won't be surprised to learn that this stage formally starts the project and lets everyone know the show is on the road. There are 4 elements to startup, and I'll describe each in detail. So these elements are: appoint a project sponsor and project board, produce the project initiation document, turn the outline plan from the business case into a more detailed plan, and hold a project startup meeting. The project sponsor and project board are key roles in the project and will demand your best players. The project sponsor will ultimately be responsible for the whole thing, and his or her strength and support will have a very big influence on its success. The project board is the executive committee that will steer the project. This doesn't have to be a huge setup. As a minimum, the board should contain a senior user and senior supplier and will be chaired by the project sponsor. The senior user will be someone who owns the deliverables or end products from this project. The senior supplier needn't be an external supplier, but will be the person responsible for delivery and might, for example, be a head of change or head of an IT function. Ultimately, the board size doesn't really matter. What's important is that everyone's clear who owns the project, who has an interest in it being delivered, and that these people meet regularly to guide and support the project. A critical success factor that's often overlooked is that those appointed need to be truly committed to the success of the project and must really buy into the idea. I've worked on projects where the sponsor has been press-ganged into the job, and as a result has carried out the role half-heartedly. This, as you'd expect, makes the project manager's job a lot tougher. The sponsor and board's roles are to challenge and support the project manager, as well as support the project itself from the outset. The board in particular needs to be mindful that success is ultimately their responsibility, so they must do everything in their power to facilitate this. They're part of the assurance mechanism that makes sure the project manager can work effectively and that the project stays on track. Lack of executive support is one of the most common reasons for project failure. Again, I don't see a lot of difference between product and service companies here. The project board might only consist of the sales manager, IT manager, and account manager in a service company, but they will still fulfill the same roles, making sure the project manager is supported and the project isn't going off track. Project initiation document, usually shortened to PID, is a document that really is worth producing because it's the only place where the whole project is described in a single document. On reading it, anyone joining the team will be able to understand what's going on. It's also an excellent checklist for you as the project manager, since it will help make sure you've thought everything through. It needs to detail how the project's going to be carried out, the structure of the project team, who has what responsibilities, the plan and milestones, how quality will be controlled, how change will be controlled, and what communication will be carried out during the project. As discussed earlier, time and effort spent at the start of a project will reduce the risk of disasters later. Small omissions errors in initial thinking can turn into much bigger issues further down the line, so it's really worth investing your time in your PID to give yourself a smoother ride later in the project. In many ways, the PID is a written project plan, as opposed to the project schedule that most people will commonly refer to as the plan. It needn't be the length of the entire works of Shakespeare. You need to tailor the PID to the size of your particular project. We've provided a template for a PID that you can download. Each section contains information and suggestions on how it should be populated, but email us if you have any questions. A project plan. As soon as your project is underway, you're going to need to start adding more detail to the outline project plan you produce for your business case. And to do this, you're going to need a project planning tool. Don't underestimate the impact of a good project planning tool on your ability to manage projects. A good planning tool will allow you to produce, modify and share plans, capture time worked, and compare your estimates against what actually happened. It should also have good reporting facilities to allow project managers and sponsors and business owners to understand what's happening in their projects at the press of a button. Many tools also offer collaboration facilities to allow staff to share, review and comment on plans and documents, as well as providing chat boards and instant messaging, which is a bit like Facebook and Twitter combined, but for work, not play. Collaboration packages work particularly well for geographically dispersed teams and for projects where there are subcontractors, clients or both you want to engage more closely in the project. This is, however, quite a confusing marketplace with over 200 project management tools on offer. Most suppliers offer free trials or give away cut-down versions of their products. This word free is very seductive, but don't imagine this is charity or generosity. Vendors know that once you start using their software, you'll invest time in training, implementing standards for using it and so on, and you'll also store plans and documents in the package until you get to the point that you've invested so much time in it, you won't want to change. So what should you choose? Well, if you don't have any budget, then Project Libra, rated Best of Open Source in 2013, is a nice simple project planning tool that will help you produce plans in Gantt format. That's the bar charts commonly used for project plans. If you want to research and try similar free tools, you'll find a useful guide at opensource.com. However, if you can afford to invest, then there are some exceptional packages available. At the low end, Rational Plan is a comprehensive project planner that doesn't cost a lot of money. But Rational Plan is a package that has to be installed on your PC or local server. If you want a cloud-based, mid-priced planning and collaboration tool, then Easy Projects is hard to beat and has everything I'd expect to see in this type of project management package. Rational Plan has a single one-off charge. Easy Project, as for all cloud-based packages, has a monthly charge. If you'd like to know more about project planning tools, then contact us. We've looked closely at over 30 leading tools in this marketplace. Take your time to select and try out any packages that meet your needs, because once you've chosen a tool and started using it, you will find it hard to swap to a different one. Once you've chosen a project planning tool, then you can start building your project plan, including all of the stages we've covered in earlier sections. These plans are always fluid documents at the beginning, but as your project progresses and you fully understand its requirements, it should become very solid. Once the design is finished and agreed, the plan should be baseline, by which I mean complete, and will show delivery dates that you're confident that you can meet. The nearer an activity is on the plan, the more detail it should contain. As a rule of thumb, the next month's activities should be planned down to chunks of no longer than 2 weeks duration each. Going forward from there, the plans can be less detailed. The plans need to show deliverables and dependencies and should be constructed around the resources you have available, and take a realistic view of when resources will be free and what their availability is likely to be. For example, if staff are involved in other activities such as support work, they won't be available at all times. A variety of overheads will also affect availability, such as vacation, sickness, staff meetings and training. Bear in mind too that resources consist of more than just people. For example, if you don't have a room big enough for your team, you may not be able to get your project off the ground. And if no testing environment is available, then you won't be able to test an IT system. And allow for lead times too. Finding resources is likely to take time, and they'll have to be integrated into the project gradually rather than all on the same day. So if you're hiring and buying equipment, contact the manufacturer for information on stock levels and lead times in advance. Part of your plan will usually be delegated to suppliers or team leads. Ask your supplier to provide a plan with milestones, but you don't have to merge this plan with yours, just include the milestones. You can also expect to delegate parts of the plan to technical teams. This could, for example, be for process development, IT development, or testing. In most cases, you can delegate the detailed planning to the leads in those technical areas. And as mentioned earlier, include the milestones from their plans in yours. Suppliers and team leaders alike need to understand that it's their responsibility to deliver to the plans that they provided to you. Project startup meeting. Never forget that any project is a collaborative activity. Whether you're running a project with in-house resources or outsourced suppliers, this principle remains true. As project manager, you're there to facilitate and coordinate this collaboration. So remember that at the start of the project, you need to get all members of the team together, from developers, testers, and suppliers to prospective users, to walk through the information in the PID. This will be partly for their information and partly so you can get their feedback. It also makes sense to ask the senior user or product owner to present at this meeting to ensure that everyone involved understands the objectives of the project as well as the end product. They need to know exactly what they're trying to build and why, if this project is going to be successful.